gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show.
D&D.
My name is Jordan, and I'm here with my illustrious co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Welcome, Sir Lucian.
Welcome, everybody. Is my volume on? Sometimes we get that messed up at the start of these shows, so we'll check it.
Your volume is on. I did
volume
check that beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah, it's whenever I get new toys and I start like playing around with stuff that all of a sudden, you know, somebody's audio's off or I don't know. And then I have a macro to mute myself, which is really good for live streams.
Oh yeah.
And for this show, like if you're talking, I'll just kind of mute myself and then I can be like, no, baby, please go back up the stairs, and other people don't hear that. But sometimes I forget that that's on. So maybe I should, anyway, I got a Stream Deck for my birthday and we were just talking about it. Maybe I should shift those buttons from my keyboard to my Stream Deck so I can actively see if I'm muted or not. Because that's why you have it. And I might do that today now that I'm saying that out loud. That sounds like a good idea. Welcome, everyone. We are a D&D talk show. We're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, all kinds of stuff that's happening. And by the title of this episode, you're probably like, what's happening? Because I just kind of had a thought about Critical Role and how I'm starting to think that they are like, are they, I want to ask the question, are they bigger than Dungeons and Dragons? Are they bigger than Wizards of the Coast?
Oof.
And I don't know if this is a correct analogy, because like one is definitely like wouldn't exist without the other. Like we wouldn't necessarily have Critical Role without Dungeons and Dragons. So then you would naturally think, oh, Wizards of the Coast and D&D are more popular. And Hasbro as a whole, like the Wizards of the Coast section, is making so much money.
Oh God, yeah.
But now we kind of know that like Critical Role is also making so much money, not near the same profits. I think they had like a $250 million profit, and we don't know because Critical Role is not a public company. But I wonder if there are more people invested in Matt Mercer and Critical Role than D&D. Like there's people like us, we really like D&D. We get excited for books like this. I get less excited when there is a Critical Role book that's coming out.
Right.
But
like, a new show starts.
But the new show starts and everyone's freaking out. People are talking about Critical Role left and right. I tried watching the first episode again and it just doesn't, like, they're very cool people. They're very funny. There's something about it that has never clicked with me. And
no,
I don't know.
Jordan's a hater?
I'm not a hater.
No,
I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
Like, I think they're really cool, but like, I have friends who are like, you need to listen to this. This is amazing. And I'll listen to it. And I'm like, it's just not grabbing me. I don't know. And I've tried watching it visually. I've tried listening to the podcast, and I don't know, but like they're getting a cartoon. They're doing all this other stuff. There's a video game in the works, I hear. Like they're going to make a Vox Machina video game.
I could see that.
And eventually they're going to make their own RPG system. And it's going to, like, think about it. Think about the long-term path of this. Like, not just a campaign setting. I think they're going to make their own system. And I wonder if it's got the Matt Mercer blessing, the Critical Role blessing. Is that going to shift the power of D&D? Or are Wizards of the Coast knows this and they're like, you know, but like, you look at my wall, which I can't show you, but it's over there. And I've got some custom art for the Monster Manual, the Player's Handbook, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. And they're very, very cool. But like, that's merch that I like because I bought Dungeons & Dragons. My friends have rooms covered in Critical Role content. Nothing specifically D&D. So that's why I asked the question, is Critical Role bigger or getting bigger than the thing that started it? Like, thoughts? Like, I don't know. Wow, I just wanted to talk about it.
It's interesting. it's definitely on the rise because it has not hit its peak, and Critical Role only seems to continue to grow in audience, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely the most in-your-face live play out there. It's definitely the biggest, most expensive we've seen of a streamed game.
It has to be the most expensive.
Nobody
RPG
else can
studio,
claim to have an Amazon animated special. Nobody else can claim to have two, and we probably will get a third book, if not more, on their own campaign setting by
like, we
D&D.
have so, and here's another thing is like Wizards of the Coast
That's more Neberon.
Huh?
That's more Neberon.
Oh yeah.
At this point.
Oh, I think Critical Role is way. If we're talking campaign settings, I think it's way more popular than Eberron. Yeah.
But
I think it's more popular than Forgotten Realms.
Here's where I think it's not there yet. Critical Role, I think, is super popular in the online Dungeons and Dragons community of Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Okay.
I think real Dungeons and Dragons is super popular for people who are never on Twitch, who are never on Twitter, and it is still being played in tables and college rooms and high school lunch and library tables at conventions.
But all of those people that are playing it at colleges are younger people that know Twitch and know Twitter. And
sure, but they may not. They may just not do it though. Because Twitch community is only so big. It's not YouTube big.
It's easier for you to sell me that there's like some 60-year-old guy who plays Dungeons and Dragons that doesn't care about Critical Role because he doesn't do a Twitter sphere and a Twitch, but like a 20-year-old who's like invested in nerd culture and doesn't really know about Twitch. And
I think that's our age level.
Oh yeah.
I think the younger generation, like I've talked to my nephew, he doesn't watch Twitch.
Oh really? Okay.
For Dungeons and Dragons, like he just, they're not into it. He's not into Twitter. He's not into Facebook. He's not into any of those things that seem to be our main focus, right of that like 25 or upper 20 to pushing 50, pushing 60 area. Yeah. I think that's a community, but I think there's also a young community. But I still think they're out there. They don't have, Critical Role hasn't been talked about in, I don't know, a half a dozen shows on TV, like a Stranger Things, like a Community, the comedy show, isn't part, Morty and
Rick and Morty, yeah.
Rick and Morty. I'm trying to get that one. I'm trying to think.
No, I guess a comparison is in my mind is like, is
Big Bang Theory,
is the Marvel Cinematic Universe bigger than Disney? Like Disney owns them. Disney's profiting off of this, but like, and they wouldn't be able to do what they do without Disney. But like, is that Marvel or maybe a better thing is like, is that Marvel Cinematic Universe bigger than comic books? And like the origins of it, but like those characters, are. But when we think of Tony Stark, we think of Robert Downey Jr. Like you don't think about the person that wrote this or da da da.
And so what you're comparing is the performance, versus the paper.
In a way,
or the offline aspect of it. Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's on the right. That's a good question.
Because now D&D has a face. Like, you look at Matt Mercer and you're like, oh, Critical Role, D&D. Like, you look at Marisha Ray, oh, Critical Role, D&D. Like, they have a voice, they have a face, they have, like, a presence, and it's a celebrityness that they were that Wizards of the Coast was trying to do with Chris Perkins and people like that, but, like, that was... And I think they succeeded at the same time, but it's not anywhere near where it was supposed to be. So,
but they also were celebrities before that.
Oh yeah.
So
in their own circles. But.
So I think they brought in a huge community of people who understood they were voice actors and are currently voice actors in some of the biggest games in the market for the last 10 years. So they have a fandom not even associated with their game of Critical Role that just helped them even blow up even more. But I still think there's plenty of people who maybe are just their fans and maybe they don't care about the D&D part. They're a fan because they're the voice of their favorite character in this anime show, or they're
do you follow voice
they're
actors?
in Overwatch, they're in
I guess so, yeah.
So I think there's a huge fandom. Like now if you said it was like Venture Maidens, who weren't a bunch of voice actors or actors who were in movies and shows, and their show was that big, I think you have something. But I think they had a built-in community that really expanded and allowed them to expand better than anybody else would be able to expand because they're celebrities. They're minor celebrities. But they have big celebrities come play with them now, and they played with, Vin Diesel was on their show. They did what's his name from one of the late night shows, Colbert.
Yeah.
Played with Mercer. So they brought in celebrities like nobody else has been able to do. Even though Wizards of the Coast has done that too, Critical Role I think is the only one that I've seen being able to do it also.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's interesting. They could overtake them in popularity. They could overtake them in their empire versus the Wizards of the Coast empire. But Wizards of the Coast has game after game after game for 40 years. They have the books for the 40 years. They have TV shows, movies. They've got TV shows and movies coming up. Yeah.
But like a lot of the things that Wizards of the Coast is doing with the property of Dungeons and Dragons, I feel that has always capitalized on it. Like we're going to allude to this new book right here. I just got this book, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. It alludes to the Rod of Seven Parts. And there are certain things like that. It alludes to this and this and this. And Critical Role, I feel they're making their own mythology, their own stuff. And there's not this like recycled the hand of Vecna or this. Even though that's a bad example because Vecna was their boss or their main antagonist.
Used it for sure.
But I don't know. So
Joe Magniella.
I'm just thinking.
Will Wheaton.
I was just thinking out loud that I'm like, I'm wondering if it's.
I think they're getting there.
And
I think they have potential.
Popular.
I don't know if they're there today.
No, I don't think so either. But like Kleenex and Tissue, Kleenex is the brand, Tissue is the product. Dungeons and Dragons is the brand, but we call tabletop role-playing games D&D. I wonder if Critical Role will become like, oh, you guys want to play Critical Role tonight? I don't know. Like, is it going to become a game? Is it going to become synonymous with, I don't know.
I think what they will become synonymous with is streaming a game.
Maybe.
So I could see in the future, they could say, oh, somebody could walk up to you and say, oh yeah, I'm streaming a game with a bunch of my friends on Twitch. And they go, oh, like Critical Role?
Yeah.
And I could see that being a huge, just like, oh, Saturday I've set up this game and we're going to play, with wizards and knights and things, and they're gonna be like, oh, D&D, right? And you're like, well, no, I'm playing Pathfinder, but yeah, you get me, or whatever. Yeah.
So I
could see it. Interesting.
That was my thought, and I thought it would be a clickable title, and maybe we'll get some more followers to watch.
Well, I've seen from chat, chat's talking about their budget, professional actors. One of the comments was Star Wars was a bigger experience than Disney once, but now that they own it, Disney's bigger because they own Star Wars and Marvel and I'm trying to think all the Disney and National Geographic and
the idea of Star Wars is bigger than George Lucas, but I don't know if that's a good comparison for what I'm trying to make. But like
I know where you're going.
But Star Wars is another thing. Like that's a whole rabbit hole where you're like it's not just
the movies. It's not the first trilogy.
Yeah. I'm not
it
like,
is not the first movie.
I'm a big Mark Hamill fan. I love this. Like there was something about that really. And I think there's something about Critical Role that is bigger than D&D.
I think you just got it. I think the Marvel universe, because you can say that the Star Wars universe, those things have made it bigger than what they originally were. But I don't think we have a Critical Role universe yet. I don't think I put that term there yet. Maybe next year. Maybe the year after. But I don't think I put the Critical Role universe there yet. The DC universe. That's
Marvel has,
Disney Princess universe. It's
60
a continuation
years of comics to pull from, and so you're right. And so does D&D. They have 50 years
That's a good one.
Of things.
And yet, somebody was saying keyword yet. That is very true. They are on a rocket ship right now. Who knows where it stops? They may go to the atmosphere, they may go to the moon, they may go to Mars at this point. They may go farther than the original went, They may take it to a popularity that we've thus far unseen. They could get bought by Disney. Who knows? And we know if Disney buys you, you're pretty big.
Well, and then you're controlled, so they probably wouldn't sell to Disney.
Sure. But Disney, if you need a Saturday morning D&D show,
I'm here for you.
Let us know. We'd love to be in the Disney universe.
for the small price of my mortgage for the year.
Yeah,
you can have this show now.
But could we just have free tickets to all your parks?
That would be fun too.
I think that would just be.
Yeah, you're right. Let's not. We can negotiate.
We don't want to go crazy.
We can negotiate. Fizban's Treasury of Dragons is out. Have you? And leave comments below about our Critical Role thoughts, and we'll try to answer them and stuff like that. But have you read this book, Lucian?
I have not read the book. I've seen some of the previews.
Have you seen
it
the
is
cover?
one of the books I have because you're holding it.
Well played.
You
see
got
what
it.
you did there.
And I think it's more exciting, and I think more people are excited than this one than the last book they just released, which was only a few weeks ago, really, or a month.
Yeah, that was the adventure, right? Which
the carnival, the Feywild, the Feylight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one was, they put a lot of hype behind it, but I think what I've been hearing from my circles is everybody's really been talking about some of the classes in Fizban, the magic in Fizbans. They want to add this to their campaign. They're super excited about this. I didn't hear a lot of, I'm adding a bunch of this Feylight stuff to my game, but I am hearing a lot of Fizban. So I wonder if Fizban's going to be a more popular book than Witchlight.
And this is, I think it will be, because this is like a Mordenkainen's book. This is like a Volo's. It's got the races. It's got what's different from Volo's is this has a couple classes in it, and then really good monsters. Like I really like how they handled the monsters, and then sprinkled in with a little bit of lore here and there. They're updating lore, which I'm working on a video right now for Wednesday. So I've been really reading this a lot because.
So what do they say about Fizban then? So is Fizban just a plains traveler? or a multiverse traveler? How do they explain him not being Forgotten Realm?
Oh well, there's lots of Tasha was
in the book. Are they talking about it? But do they mention it in the book, or do we just know that because we know that?
They talk about Fizban being part of Dragonlance.
Okay.
And that he, spoilers for the Dragonlance books, but he was a bumbling mage in Dragonlance until midway through the book series. It's revealed that he's an ancient draconic god, or the aspect of it. Right. So I think this is just, they had a title. Fizban has a connection to dragons, and they named it Fizban.
Well, if you remember,
it has very little Dragonlance references.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Because remember in Saltmarsh, they had a big paragraph talking to us about how this was Greyhawk and these were old adventures, but how you could fit it into your campaign, how it could fit into a Forgotten Realms, how it could fit into anything. Did they do the same thing here with Fizban's to say, yes, he came from Dragonlance, or maybe some of these dragon ideas came from Dragonlance, or but you can use it in your Forgotten Realms campaign, or do they even mention any of that?
No, so they don't mention Fizban like that, but they did create new draconic mythology. And with that new mythology, they have said you could apply this to Dragonlance this way. You could apply this to the Forgotten Realms this way.
Okay.
You could apply this to, just like we saw earlier, kind of a thing. And that's what that's what I'm making the video on, is this new mythology, where they say at the very beginning of the world, before there was gods, before there was a multiverse, before there was anything, there was the first world, and it was populated by dragons. And a lot of people are really hating on it from what I was reading online and stuff, and not everybody, obviously, but I thought it's
a new origin story, right? That's not the origin story we've ever heard. It's an origin story
that predates every origin story. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't like that. The Realms was like this for me. Yeah. And another criticism I heard is they're trying to make dragons cool, but dragons were already cool. You didn't have to do this. It's a dragon,
Yeah, it's a freaking dragon.
Exactly. It's okay. But yeah, it's so the first world was populated by dragons, and the thing I liked about it is that it's a prime material world, like a plane on the prime material plane. It is the prime material plane, just like we have the 9 hells or things like that. This isn't fragmented into 100,000 different multiverses. It's just this one world, and dragons are magically tied to that, unlike any other being, because they were there at the beginning. And then there was some cataclysmic event. The world got shattered into a million pieces, and now you have, this is how they're explaining that you can have the same dragon on different worlds. So
okay.
Fizban is Paladine.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing in chat.
Paladine
Bahamut
is Bahamut.
Yeah.
So the Bahamut of the Forgotten Realms is intrinsically linked to the Paladine of Dragonlance. Like they're the same thing, and that's where I think people are also getting upset. Is they're like, no, they're not. Like what?
They're different dragons.
Like Tiamat of this is not. I forget the Dragonlance version of it, but like, so they're trying to connect dragons in a interesting way. I don't know if it fits. Again, like all lore, you can throw it out the window, but it's interesting because it is canon for 5e. And we've talked about lore again, where they've said, you know, on an addition basis, we're going to reestablish or change lore how we want. So just because we're doing this doesn't nullify like 3rd edition or 4th edition lore, but it does drastically change 5th edition.
But 3rd
lore.
and 4th edition lore is not canon anymore either.
Exactly.
If we go by the right. Is there anything in there that does anything with Dragonborn?
Yeah.
The playable race?
They have new Dragonborn.
Because they got to put in the they got to put in the metal, or not the metals,
gem,
but the gem dragons. Yeah.
So they updated the original Dragonborn races, so you can use these updated versions, which are really interesting because you can say if you're going to be, they're just better in all honesty. Like you get cooler abilities based on the type of dragon you choose. And also based on the type of dragon you choose, you could have a cone or you could have a stream. So you could have like a stream of fire, or if you choose this other one, you could have a cone of fire, which I thought was kind of cool. And then there are the gem dragons that have like a psychic Takesis thing is Tiamat. Thank you, Danny, in chat.
Do they have the new stat blocks for monsters they've been talking about, or is that still coming in a different book? So they've done the updated stat block in these.
Yeah, so towards the end, there's
So this is the first one, then.
And they are the updated from what I can tell.
Interesting.
And I thought it was cool because... I'm trying to find the one that I was talking about. There's a horde mimic in here, which I thought was really cool.
Ooh,
so like
nice.
a draconic horde, but it's actually a mimic. And it made me think of that monster that I like to use from Tome of Beasts, which is the horde golem. That is like the entire gold pile is actually a sentient thing that's trying to kill you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Another cool, interesting thing is horde scarabs, which are these little bugs that have evolved to look like coins, and they eat the mites off of dragons and keep it clean and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I thought that was really fun. But
how about big? Remember one of the funnest things?
This is what I want to talk about really quick.
Okay,
so like they have the metallic great worm, and it's all of the dragon types in one stat block. So you read this, which is really cool for a dungeon master, and then it has little offshoots. Like, by the way, if you are running this as a brass or a gold dragon, it's going to do fire damage here instead of this type of damage. And if you're going to do this, but it's a very simple, like, at a glance, I can be like, okay, that's right. I'm doing a copper dragon, so it's acid, you know, and you can figure out elemental types, but for the most part, it's a dragon, you know?
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. So it is updated stat blocks. It's kind of fun.
I do like that. I had a question that I forgot.
I know. Sorry. I just didn't want to.
No, that's okay. I know. One of the cooler things you got in any of your Dungeon Master's guides throughout all of the years, all of the editions, is you would always go back to that when you wanted to roll on the Dragon Horde, or you would roll the treasure tables.
Yeah.
Did they put Dragon Horde treasure tables in this or anything like that?
Yeah, it's sad.
No. They had an opportunity.
So they have like creating a green dragon, creating all this other stuff, and then there are creating the horde, and cool. All it is please use these tables, but you're using tables here that then call back to the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Okay, so still use that.
There's no new magic items, well, there are some new magic items, but there's nothing like, this is not magic item heavy. This is, a green dragon would kind of have this, but I really feel like they didn't need to do that for every dragon, because the tables are the same, so you don't have to like you could just I don't know. Much like the stat block changes, like one stat block, many dragons, they should have had like one horde roll, many dragons, and change it as you will. So.
Those were my favorite random tables to use of all time, were the horde, deciding the horde of whatever creature you might defeat. And because it was always so cool to roll on how much gold was there, how much platinum was there, how many magic items showed up, what type of magic items. I just love that. Those are my favorite, random roll tables ever.
Yeah. No, I like random tables in general. I think they're fun. Like, they really add to a game for me. But
so you have both then, right? You have Beyond the Witchlight and Fizban's and...
And like I said, I wasn't going to buy Wild Beyond the Witchlight, but then I saw the alternate cover in my game store, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get it. And the
alternate cover looks cool.
Haven't read through it entirely. Like, I usually sit down and I really try to read it. But I do like it. I think it's worth the money.
Did you read through Fizban's more, or did you read through Witchlight more? Which one has captured your attention?
I've been reading this one heavily, yeah. So this one
it's
definitely
it's kept you reading through it. Okay.
And it's because I'm working on a video more. Yeah, I wouldn't say that the content is more interesting. It's just like I'm actively researching because I want to.
No adventure hooks, no...
Lots of adventure hooks. Like, that goes into building a dragon. So, like, let's build a dragon, an emerald dragon personality... traits, and then here's Emerald Dragon adventure hooks, and there's tables, lots of tables, which I think is fun.
Play a dragon? Can we play a dragon?
Nah, not that I can see.
Because that used to be an old Dragon magazine article where they were like, here, if you want to play a dragon in your campaign.
Another thing I was reading is they were saying, like, traditionally the Dragonomicon and stuff like that, like, you could is it can't think of the word, but like the prestige levels. Prestige classes. And one of those prestige classes is, like, becoming a dragon. And they didn't seem to have a lot of that in here. But I was like, I don't know if we're at a 5e level of, like, prestige classes and stuff. But yeah, like, here's young dragon connections. And it kind of breaks down, like, wormlings, young dragons, adult dragons. And so if you are a young adventuring group, you might be working with a young dragon as a patron. And then maybe he hands you off to his father or something as you get older. I don't know, but like higher in level.
Yeah.
It did break it down really well where it said, like an adult dragon is kind of the equivalent of a level 10 to 14 character. Think about it like that. So if you have if you have an adult dragon that's aiding level 2 players, he is like, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, he's like a level 14 kind of character. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. My favorite battle to run in Seeking Revenar definitely was a dragon that caught our players out in forest at night. And it was this cool scene of the dragon sweeping in and using breath weapons and then rising back up through the forest and then coming back down and swooping and attacking and then landing and attacking and then eventually just barely getting away as the players finally rallied and got a bunch of their stuff going. It was one of the first times I felt like I had a single creature that challenged the party, made them really worried that this wasn't going to work out, and both parties kind of disengage and leave, knowing that there may be another bigger battle down the road.
Yeah.
Because normally I try to throw something cool and big at the players, and they just have too much action economy to deal with if you're just going to throw one creature that gets one turn throughout the, it just doesn't ever seem to work, or at least not the way I wanted it to work. But that one did, so I always like that. I'd like to see these new rules. Somebody was asking in chat too, Witchlight's kind of like a Strahd adventure as a question, a surface look at the setting with room for more. I think the way you've described it before, and you can elaborate on this, it is a good look at a domain of delight. Here's a specific domain of delight that you could run adventures in, but there are more of those. So kind of is like Strahd, where you're talking about domains of dread.
Yeah.
Here's the Strahd adventure, which is a focus of domain of dread, but there are other domains.
And I guess the difference is domain of dread, Barovia, Strahd. Mm-hmm. He's trapped there in like an ever like repeating curse of. I mean, his life is just awful there. Mm-hmm. Wild Beyond the Witchlight is a mystery. You don't really know who's in charge or why, whereas in Strahd, you meet him right up front, and it's just like, what the heck? And you're trying to, I guess, puzzle his history together and try to understand why he's trapped there, or why you were brought here in a way. Like, there's a adventure for you to go on. But the Wild Beyond the Witchlight is kind of a mystery, as you're not really sure what's happening. And then a lot of exploration as you're meeting these, I think there's these 3 hags of Hither, Thither, and Yon, and they have these 3 sections of this domain of delight, and you're going and exploring them and getting information. So, I mean, I haven't read it cover to cover yet, so I don't feel like I want to be like, it's exactly like this, but it's a good question. So
we talked everything about what's in Fizban's for DMs. What's in Fizban's for players?
Yeah, so there is the new races for Dragonborn and Gem Dragonborn. And then there's a lot of feats that are like dragon touched. So you can kind of treat these feats as a draconic gift, is what they were saying. So yeah, like one of these is a draconic familiar. So you could just be like, the dragon could bestow this gift upon you, where you can now cast Find Familiar, but you only get a pseudo dragon that follows you around. You know.
Cool.
There are some magic items.
In classes, right?
And
I
then
know at least one is my favorite.
That's what I was looking for. There's the draconic ranger, the Drake Ranger.
Everybody's
and then there
talking
is
about
the monk one. There's like a monk.
Oh, that's right. So it has 2 in it then.
Ascendant Dragon. Way of the Ascendant Dragon. So yeah. The monk I wasn't too super like impressed with, but yeah, the ranger's really cool. And if you are of the right size, you can ride your draconic companion, which is really cool. And it
gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it does. It gets bigger as you get older, or as you get higher in level. But yeah, the challenge rating is your proficiency bonus. I don't know. Anyway, I need to like really look at this. I'm sure Ted's already done a video on it, and you can probably
I want to make one
too.
In D&D Beyond. I want to make a Draken Ward or
Drake Warden. Yeah,
Drake Warden.
So with the Drake Warden, you get your Drake companion. It gets breath weapons and things like that. And again, it's that same, like, they're fixing the ranger, and they're just subtly doing it. And I guess they did some errata, I'm pretty sure, didn't they? With Tasha's, where, or no, it was the alternate classes. Like, yeah. Which kind of helped fix the ranger, but yeah. I don't know.
I think this is how they'll do it. They'll never officially fix they're never going back and changing the ranger at this point. They won't. They're just going to use the subclasses to fix any of the problems, and
some people were asking about, is this like Matt Colville? And this isn't. This is Wizards of the Coast. Matt's working on his Beastmaster, which is not a ranger subclass. It's its own class, like the Illrigger that he created and things like that. So
yeah. Apparently they did not like the name Beastmaster, so they are changing that. I did read that.
Oh really? I wonder if
they came up with a different name for it.
I wonder if that's a wizard. Don't do this, Matt Colville kind of a thing.
No, I think it's the word master.
Oh, okay.
In our current times has fallen out of what people think people should use, or what it connotes, or
I'm actually very curious for that because pet classes have always been a huge draw for players.
Yeah,
and it's weird that and the pet classes in D&D were awful. You know, the Ranger was not good, the Beastmaster Ranger, and then a lot of other stuff, X, Y, and Z. Now they're figuring it out a little better with like summoning elementals, and you have like scaling elementals with spell slots, and then I think this Drake Warden is a good improvement as well. But it's hard. It's hard to balance because all of a sudden if you're like, well, I'm going to split a character in 2, it's either going to be half as weak in order to balance it, you know, or like it's going to be better. Who knows? And so,
yeah. 2 is better than 1, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you 2 nickels for your quarter because 2 is better than 1. So. Yeah. Oh, and the Necromancer should get an update, is what somebody was saying in chat. Yeah. I agree. The Necromancer
summoning class. I mean, think of the characters where my whole identity is I summon elementals and throw them at a person, or I have golems that I create that fight for me, or I have spirits that I call upon and they fight, or there's so many different things. I'm a nature. I'm gonna call up stuff from nature that is just a pack of wolves, and a stag herd is gonna try to, just all those things you can do in Magic the Gathering. I know all those cool things you can do, those summons, right? I attack you with this cool creature, take that damage, summoner. So I just love that stuff, and I'm glad they're moving towards having a better set of rules around that, because I like the Iron Dog or the Iron Guardian one that you could do with the Artificer.
The Artificer is a pretty decent pet class, which is funny
because
I'm
cool pet stuff in it.
I would not think of it as a pet class, but it does a good job. I'm surprised there's not a druid pet class subclass that has like pets and stuff. You think that there would,
because even if you try to stack summoning spells that's going to bring up creatures, it's kind of hard to still have that be your identity, because you can't really get a bunch of them at any given time. You can have a couple of summon spells. Like I've tried it with my wizard to have a very summon focused wizard, so that he could, here's a fire elemental, and that's got defeated, here's a water elemental or whatever, but you don't get a lot of good control out of them, and then they go crazy, and or like a demon summoner, like a cool demons, the one I want to build.
Demons are intentionally problematic.
The 5-bag demon sorcerer.
But you got to keep working on that, because I think it could work out really well. Yeah. So is it a buy? I don't know. I don't think it's a buy for those two classes. Honestly, the way that they've compartmentalized D&D Beyond, I would just buy the Drake Warden. Like, there's no reason to have the rest of it. I would buy the, I don't know. I feel bad.
As a dungeon master?
As a dungeon master, I really like this book for the monsters.
The dragons and the monsters.
For the tables. So if I'm going to make a dragon-centric adventure, this is a really good book for me.
Dragon on the Mount?
And, that was... surprise, that is a 5-year-old adventure that did not have a dragon in it, but
it has no dragon.
There's no dragon in that adventure.
Spoilers.
But you could definitely go it could leap off into other directions, I'll say that, and you could use this book. But yeah, I'm not cracking open Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes every weekend, crafting planner adventures and doing Shadowfell stuff and da-da-da, and I probably won't be doing this. But the minute I am running a Shadowfell adventure, boy, I'm using that book a whole bunch. And I think this is the same thing. The minute that I'm running a Draconic adventure and I have a dragon patron for my players, and
or a dragon bad guy,
the Orb of Dragonkind is in the wrong hands, and I can't send dragons in to get it because they'll be mind controlled. So I got to send players in to do it. There's a lot of cool stories you could do with this. Again, I'm a collector, so I like having it. It's not like it's a huge, I regret my purchase kind of thing.
And that was regular cover, no alternate for that one?
No, I got this one off Amazon. So yeah, I didn't, and the alternate cover didn't really
grab you.
So.
I'd have to go and look at it again.
And I
forgot.
really like when my books match up on my shelf.
Oh.
And the Wild Beyond the Witchlight obviously stands out now, but there's something about that. Oh, they're all there, and they all have the same...
I keep buying all the special edition ones, and they do not match.
No, and it bothers me. I guess it's that... I don't know. It just bothers me. But yeah, so I don't know. It's $50 is a lot for a book, but it's always like $30 on Amazon, I feel. So, and I don't mean to super promote Amazon all the time. It's just
where you can go to get
cheaper.
it.
I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think you should shop at Walmart, but man, they've got some really
Sometimes
cheap
I do.
stuff. So
yeah.
And then other news. We got a lot of news. Sorry.
Fizban's
is out.
This was funny because normally we have a little news segment where we talk about a Pathfinder piece of news.
Yeah.
And I went to the notes that me and Jordan keep, and already listed before I even got there, Jordan had put a Pathfinder note. I'm like, oh, he might be getting infected by this Pathfinder news stuff. But there was a big announcement.
Yeah.
Really big.
Yeah,
really.
So Paizo has partnered with Demiplane to make Pathfinder Nexus.
Right.
And what this is the D&D Beyond for Pathfinder.
Yeah.
So just like how Wizards of the Coast partnered with Fandom to create D&D Beyond, they have partnered with this other company to create Pathfinder Nexus.
But
so this is
it goes deeper.
Well, it does go deeper. And I want to say this is the official Paizo, just like we can
play
Pathfinder on Roll20 and all these other ones.
Yep.
But this is the official Pathfinder. It's made by Adam Bradford, who was the guy that made D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Before he kind of left mysteriously, and from what I've heard through Grapevine is that he didn't have as much creative control, and he didn't like that after Fandom bought D&D Beyond.
They bought it from Curse, right? Because it started out at Curse, went to yeah. So there was a lot of shuffling.
And so there was like company reordering and things like that, and they were just like, no. And so he left to start his own company, which is this Demiplane. And a lot of people were thinking, myself included, is that he was going to grab franchises like Disney's Marvel and stuff, and actually be like, this is where you play a Marvel RPG and do things like that. And
they still might.
And they might, who knows, but he's been working on this for so long, and it's like had no things, and we're just like, what are you doing? And then boom, Pathfinder Nexus pops up, and it's like, okay, you just went to your competitor.
There's a video where they did a live show of a one-shot they were running, I think last night or the night before, and in the middle of the break, they did an interview with Bradford. So if you want to go see an interview with him talking about it and what's in it, you can see that. Because they talk about it's not a VTT yet, and they don't really say it might not be, so I didn't get the impression that they were going to create a full virtual tabletop yet. But they did talk about all the character tools to make things more convenient to run a game of Pathfinder, which obviously I think Pathfinder could benefit from because it is I feel like it has a bigger rule encyclopedia than some other RPGs.
Yes, I agree. So
having something to help.
If I have a builder that helps me build a character and tells me, oh, you can't do this, you can do this, rather than Jordan rereading like 75 books. And talk about splat books. Pathfinder's just ridiculous. And I don't know if this is just 2nd edition or if because 2nd edition Pathfinder was supposed to be backwards compatible. So I don't know if they're bringing in all of the other stuff from Pathfinder, which is a lot. But I mean, a good I'm all for competitors. This is awesome. Like, do it. I did think it was I did think it was a little weird that the layout looks exactly like D&D Beyond. like a lot. Like, you didn't really have another idea for, I don't know.
But, Pathfinder has the same stats. Pathfinder has the same. It's 3.5 rules expanded.
You're right. I don't know.
So the character sheet for that is, how do you make it look too much different? But he did say in that interview, too, so it has not been confirmed yet or they've not made the deal yet, that Starfinder is possibly on the table, though it's not in their plans yet. But that could be cool, too, because I've struggled trying to make some Starfinder characters. And I think because I struggled right there at that spot, I didn't play Pathfinder or Starfinder as much as I probably could have because I struggled a little bit understanding their character creation. I didn't have somebody to lean on and say, is this right? Is this, I'm reading this, but it's weird. It's out of order, and I'm having to flip all over the place to try to figure out how to build this character, and it didn't feel great. That's what Wizards nailed. When you go through Player's Handbook 5e, they nailed being able to create your character so well. I didn't realize it until I was looking at the other.
And then, and then you might have to pick some spells later on, but I agree. I was very confused with Pathfinder 2nd edition.
But this could clear that up, and if it does, I could see me playing more Pathfinder, more Starfinder games for sure.
I want to make a free account just to try the character creation, but no, you're absolutely right. If what I think D&D Beyond has done for the tabletop role-playing community, they can just sit down and be like, oh, and I just like click, 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 and then it very easily presents you with the options that you are supposed to be paying attention to right there. And on the fly, like if I add, I'm just thinking of character stats. Like if you do point buy, all of a sudden I don't have to understand the math of point buy. I just select down and I'm like, oh, that one costs more. Like, why do I have a remainder left? And you're trying to, that is so useful rather than trying to understand the formula that is point buy.
And I would not.
And Pathfinder, if they do that well with Pathfinder Nexus, then it could work. So
yeah, I would not underestimate when we always talk about why D&D got more popular over the last few years, and it does point to celebrities playing and all these other things. I think one thing that goes unmentioned is D&D Beyond making it easier for somebody who can just go and create a character. That's part of it. That is one of the reasons it's been able to reach the popularity it has. It's not the main reason. It wasn't the biggest part of it, but it contributed for sure.
And also being able to share your books. Like, I wonder if that is with Pathfinder too, because if I would be more inclined to buy some of the stuff on Nexus if I know I can share it with Lucian so that we can have a game, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I could see that being the game that I only buy the digital stuff. Whereas D&D, I'm buying the book and the digital stuff because I want to have access to both. But I'm not going to pick like 2 or 3 games that I'm going to do that, right? So I could see me be I'm just going to buy what they put on Nexus to help me run those games, and I'm good. Maybe I don't buy the book for them, but I do. Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you love their artwork. Maybe you love the size of their books. Maybe you love their writers and their lore, so you buy their books and you get the digital tools to make your games easier. Because don't sleep on the artwork of Pathfinder. I think it's fantastic.
Great. Yeah, they have
it's some
great
good stuff out there. I mean, I've been playing the Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous video game. It's blown me away and has pulled me over to the Pathfinder side. So I'm leaning towards the dark side at this point. I'm going with the Emperor at this point. So I don't know, but it's definitely really a big announcement for them. So it's definitely the big Pathfinder news that they're talking about. Because they just did their Guns and Gears book that just dropped. I saw that on the shelf when I went to the game store on Saturday. Flipped through it, really good artwork and stuff. But the Pathfinder Nexus
it's interesting.
was
and, you know, D&D Beyond took a while to get going. And, boy, you know, I like, my DM Nathan works there. He's one of the coders. And
DM Nathan.
He was saying, like, it's way more complicated than you would think to actually code all of this to work together. And I am very curious about Pathfinder Nexus if they have a similar struggle. Only because we all kind of know that Pathfinder's a little more complicated than, or I guess a complicated in the sense of Jordan just staring at it from there. Maybe D&D Beyond or maybe Dungeons and Dragons is a little more like the DM makes the choice and Pathfinder is more codified, and that actually helps the coders for a website like this. Like, who knows? But I just know the struggles that D&D Beyond has gone through trying to, like, how does this really work and how do I apply? This is kind of confusing. From his standpoint, just him telling me about code. So
right. No, I've thought it because I always thought just even trying to build a character sheet and then trying to automate that character sheet so that it has your bonuses when things are happening, or you can click a button because you have bless on at the moment, or you know you have this bonus here because you drank a potion of heroism, or here's this thing because you're this race, this background, this is a class you chose, and here's your modifiers for your abilities. Thus, here's how many spell slots you get. Whereas before, if you're using the book to figure out how many spell slots you're getting, you're going back and forth trying to figure out, okay, my intelligence modifier might be here, and that might affect this piece. So I've got to, so that definitely, I think, has helped people get into the game more than ever before. And doing the math. I mean, right at the table, we play on Roll20, or we play on these virtual tabletops. When I swing my sword, all the bonuses are there. Everything's in there. I hit the next button, shows all the damages. Oh, it crits. It rolls the extra damage for me and gets it all in there. So it can keep your game moving a lot quicker than what I remember old D&D was. Roll 4 or 5 dice and wait 3 seconds for people to add math. Because it'd be like, okay, that's 12, strength 2, so 14, and I have poison on my dagger, so that's another D6, 12. What did I say? That's what D&D was that I remember for a long time without these aids, right? So, and we just played it and we liked it and we got used to it, but you get so many bonuses. That's why they got rid of so many of the bonuses too, because it slowed people down. I get a +2 here, I get a +1 here, I get a plus this here, and it was so much going on that it would just, so I love the streamline of it now.
Was famous for that. I guess, when I played 4th edition, where it's like, so I get +2 if I'm flanking, but it's also sunny, so I get a +1. You know,
there's a
like,
+1 for that.
Like, it was
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. My weapon's a magical +1 weapon. I get a +1 for that. Yeah.
And then you would have these, like, at higher levels, you're like, I've got a +27 bonus to this. It's like,
now, Demiplane has been out before this announcement.
They announced, but
assumption
they haven't
is that they're
anything.
still going to work with other companies, I wonder. So I wonder if we'll have Pathfinder Nexus, but then we'll have, like, Modifius Nexus, or we'll have, you know, like, Free League Nexus, or we'll have, and maybe Demiplane will reach out to them and say, let us build your characters for Star Trek Adventures. Yeah. Let us build your characters for Conan. Let us build your characters for Kids on Bikes. You know what? You know, whatever.
I bet that's what they want, and we'll see. I mean, this is baby steps. I think they had to make enough
character
of
vault
notes service in order to attract people like Pathfinder. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But having the name Adam there is probably pretty big. So, we can either talk about Kickstarters or games. What do you want to do?
Oh, well, you mean Kickstarters?
Oh, Kickstarters, like, you say, Jordan.
Like an unboxing of a Kickstarter?
Let's open that.
But yeah, we can talk about Kickstarters. I just the one right at the top of your list there. This past week had funded Planebreaker 5e from Monty Cook. I feel like you did too.
I did.
Looks really good.
I'm really excited about this. So, Planebreaker for Explore the Planes for 5e. It's a new Kickstarter for 5th edition by Monty Cook Games. They are well over their goal. There's 20 days to go. And the idea is that there's a cursed moon that is breaking through the planes and the multiverse. So I love this idea of this planet that's just like slowly going through all of the different planes of existence. And that is like the premise, and I'm not really sure more than that, other than I saw Monty Cook and I saw planes, and so I bought it. But they have always been very good and fulfilled their stuff really well, and so
professional artworks, great layout, great books on everything I bought. Monty Cook has been a great book to read, even just to read. We got a little Free League thing here. Oh, something from Free League. How about a little Twilight 2000? This was an old game they redid. It's a little box set. Role-playing in the World War III that never was. So this is basically post-apocalyptic. World War III's happened. I remember it. I don't know when the original one came out. I feel like it would have been 90s. And it was pretty popular. And I think this is kind of like another version of it at this point. Very cool. Twilight 2000. I also... Was there any other... What was the other one I did? I feel like I did one more Kickstarter recently.
I don't know. You're making lots of noise with your bubble wrap, though.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Kobold Press has one out that I have not backed yet, but I'm very curious about. Actually, we'll look at your Twilight Imperium, or Twilight 2000. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, you can keep calm.
I don't know much about that, actually, but Kobold Press has been making lots of cool stuff. Obviously, I think I think it's like Wizards of the Coast, Pathfinder, or Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, and then Kobold Press, in order of like just cool stuff that they make, and don't really need our help to advertise their Kickstarters, but they do well. Book of Eben Tides is a new Plane of Shadow book that for 5th edition that Kobold Press is coming out, and it looks really cool. I don't know anything about it other than the limited edition cover is amazing. So, but it seems like it's a campaign supplement from what I was told.
So you recognize this because you read that artwork and you read those books and you're really excited about those for a while, which is our... I had it sitting there, but where'd it go? It was right there. So,
Forbidden Lands. Yeah.
Forbidden Lands. And then we also recognize Alien up at the top. And then There's Forbidden Lands. That's what it is. So this is that company that does that. Free League or Free League. Tales from the Loop. We love that book over there. Apparently, I'm a huge super fan of this because I have all of these so far. Symborum. I've heard some people playing this one.
Yeah, that's the same dice system as Forbidden Lands and Tales from the Loop. But
so Twilight 2000, which we're going through right now, that's the newest one that's just shipping. So if any of you kickstarted that one, they just started shipping, and you should be getting them this week and throughout the rest of the week. This one seems like somebody might recognize that one.
Bason's very good too.
Basin, somebody played that one that we know of, so that looked pretty cool. Mutant Year Zero was another one, and Coriolis. And then this last one, I think this is the one I was trying to get to, Mork Bork. They're doing a cyberpunk one. That's the one I kickstarted. So they're going to do a cyberpunk cyborg one. Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. So, pretty interesting there. They always do good stuff for like secret handouts, secret sheets. These are from NATO and like what happened in World War III, why it happened, all that kind of stuff.
No, props like that really get me into a game. I love things like that. So,
maps of what's going on, their documents. We've got some playable maps here. So these are maps that we can just move our minis on, and hex maps, and then big overworld hex map, because I think their campaign that they give you is somewhere in, I want to say like a Germany or a Czechoslovakia or one of those type of, like the names of these are Fredrikstad, Halden, Stromstad, Trollhättan. They're all kind of like, oh, this is such a cool hex map, dude.
That is fun.
And it is big. The material too isn't like it's like a nice texture. Character sheets. Here we go. Oh my god, there's so much in this thing. Get it all out. Character sheets, so if we know how we're going to play Twilight, so pretty standard.
So is this something that you've been wanting to run, or is it just that was a
I wanted it because I remember it from before, and so I wanted to see what they did with the new version. And I had no idea what rule set they were going to use, and I just love, I love Free League. Here's some more hex maps to use. Oh my god, there's like tons of them. It's like a whole over and over and over. Here you go. Punch out
status
markers to use so that you can, you got units, and you've got explosions, and you've got chemical warnings for radiation, tanks, and vehicles. And then you finally get to the books, which aren't too big. So you've got reference manual. So this is going to be your Dungeon Master's Guide, or whatever you're going to call it. Not very big. It's a soft cover, but nice textured paper. About 112 pages. And then there's a player's manual. Bigger. Also soft cover, which is great for having it at a table. About 150 pages. Decent old school artwork.
Super fun. Yeah, I've never been a modern kind of RPG player, but like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't done one.
Especially if you're into like war games and stuff. I could see this game being really attractive. So,
well, I was thinking too, you could do like where somebody comes out of a vault, kind of like the Fallout. If you want to run kind of a Fallout style game, I thought this would be a good system for that. And they just had such a cool box set, and they had a cool presentation for their Kickstarter. You know me, I'm a Kickstarter person, so I loved it. So that's pretty good. I know that Fool's Gold one there, that they were the ones that Critical Role were sponsored the first episode. Yeah, they sponsored
the first show. So, and they're at almost 1 million. And Fool's Gold sponsored one of my videos. I did not get Critical Role money for that, but like they sponsored it. And they're very nice. But Hit Point Press is putting that out. And if you've seen the Dingo Doodles YouTube series, it's very tongue-in-cheek and hilarious. And the art is totally her art, and it seems really fun. So,
very cool.
And I love silly campaign settings like this, where if you look at the map that they've created for this, there's like a volcano, and someone just wrote on the map like danger. And then there's a forest, and somebody circled it and wrote scary sounds. And then there's a marsh, and somebody wrote an arrow with the word avoid. So, like, it's just kind of this, like, I don't know, it's everything's trying to kill you. Like, I thought it was really cool. I don't know much about the story, or I've seen a couple of the Dingo Doodle stuff. She's very funny and personable. This is obviously her intellectual property that Hit Point Press is putting together. And I think it's almost at 1 million because of that Critical Role spot.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Because, like, Book of Ebon Tides is...
Well, I went there live.
Only 112. And I think the Monty Cook book is only at, like, 200,000. So I'm just like, I don't know. But maybe Dingo Doodles has a bigger reach than I thought.
Well, I was watching live, and they said sponsored by this, and I typed it in as I was sitting there.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Kickstarter, I feel like it already had $100,000 made as Critical Role is broadcasting. Yeah. So it definitely had some good traction, because 100,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Maybe could have done 100 or 200. Maybe without them, maybe moves into 200 or 300, maybe 250. But I think with them, definitely getting pushed to 1 million makes sense to me totally.
Another one that I found interesting, just because I know the guys over at Dice Dungeons, is they made a book called Mutated Monsters, where the book is a way to combine 2 different monsters. So you can create your, like, shark pony or things like that. It's kind of interesting.
Land shark.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm interested in this one as well. I haven't not backed it yet, but we'll see. And then the other one.
Yeah, because I'm still waiting on, like, Venture Maidens, Web DMs,
yeah, there's
Wastelands.
A lot that we backed.
I'm still waiting on. Those are coming in. I've got so many of them out there.
And then the Level Up Advanced 5e. I don't really know if we need to talk about it a whole bunch, but they're rewriting 5th edition D&D to be, like, more advanced, I guess. I'm not really sure.
Right.
But that's a Kickstarter that's going out. And then this one was kind of under my radar, but was something I was really interested in, is Flangia by Atlas Games. This is a prehistoric setting for 5th edition. And I thought that was cool, because that is something I have not seen for 5e, really. And I like the idea of it a lot.
The one I like, Monty Cook did it for their Cypher system. And theirs was really cool to have dinosaurs as pets and companions.
Yeah.
So this is a cool idea. This one's at 134,000 right now, about 19 days to go. This is another one that's been on my radar.
I think I'm gonna probably back this today, but I really like the idea. But yeah, Plangia. Like the continent, like the old supercontinent. And they've got some adding
good
an
artwork.
Extra H. It's that PH problem I've got. So
yeah. It looks, the cover looks really cool. Crazy cool, because they've got, like, some type of creature with a big horn on it being chased by T-Rexes.
And I want to say Atlas Games, they made they made a card game that I like, but I don't think they've done any, like, RPG stuff before. So this could be hit or miss. Maybe they have done RPG stuff, I don't know. Looks like they have a soundtrack that they're gonna add to this, so that's kind of cool.
Looks like they get an adventure.
Yeah.
Soundtrack.
So I don't know. Again, they're not funded or anything. I just thought this was really cool, and I have not seen, like, a prehistoric campaign setting for 5e, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, what else has Atlas Games done? It's done something else, because that name is familiar to me. Like, I've seen it on one of the books I've ordered. Yeah. I'll have to remember. I'll have to look through my shelf and see which one it was, because I know I've ordered an Atlas Games book of some sort. Well, they did Root, the Marauder expansion.
Bloom is the card game that I play that I like, that they make.
That makes sense.
But yeah, they I don't know. Magical Kitties Saves the Day is one of their games.
I know I've seen a game from them. I'll have to go to their website and look.
My son is making lots of noise. I really like Gloom. Gloom's a fun game. And yeah, we'll see. So anyway, that's kind of a roundup for that. I didn't play a lot of games. I know you played a couple, but we're also at time. I should probably go check on my family.
We were still at Magical School.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's what we were doing. And of course, my party's turned into murder hobos. So at this point, were ramping through the place and murdering everything. So
goodness.
I knew it wouldn't last long.
The civilized life.
Yeah. It was funny.
Awesome.
It's a good couple of episodes. Like if you were going to jump in, they're nice and contained episodes, and the last two over at Danimals channel, just to watch the shenanigans our characters get up to is pretty funny in these last two.
Awesome.
But that's it. I'm excited to play some more. We've got 10 days until the Eternals drops.
Yeah.
I might go see Shang-Chi in the theater this weekend.
Cool.
Because I'm hoping it'd be crowded, or not crowded at all, and I could be in a pretty empty theater is what I want.
I saw Dune for my birthday. It was very fun.
Did see Dune. That was really good. Free Guy was the other one I saw. Saw a bunch of those movies. So those are all making me want to play campaigns of that stuff too. Yeah. Like Dune. A Dune RPG. Somebody's doing the Dune RPG. I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, it's out. I don't know. I've heard mixed things.
I forget who did it. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember. So that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for chatting with us. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much, and please, do podcasty things so that we can be rated on Apple iTunes or whatever thing happened. It has been a lot of fun doing this show for a long time. We're gonna keep doing it. We'll have a safe and happy Halloween.
Episode 185.
We will be back next week in the wonderful month of November.
Full of Halloween candy in our bellies.
Yes, I will.
Because is your kids doing it tonight or what?
No, we're gonna go tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow, the Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday night. Okay.
On
I wasn't
Halloween.
sure. Like lots of towns do different things, though.
It's a religious thing. And I'm in deep religious country, so there's a lot of people that will probably be trick or treating tonight. We'll see. So.
You'll see.
I might invite some friends over to play Gloomhaven. I haven't decided.
Have you been
yet.
doing? I keep forgetting to ask this. Were you doing you dress up in a costume every day for the month of October?
Yeah. So my family, my wife specifically, likes to dress up every day for Halloween. And we did try, but boy, schedules were hard this
okay.
month.
I was wondering.
I do have quite a few photos, which I think I've been putting some of them in the Patreon chat, but maybe I can throw some in the in the
at
general chat.
At least of the kid costumes. He's got to have a whole bunch of funny
ones. Yeah. And so my costume is hey, there's my son.
Baby
my
boy.
costume is I'm going to be Frankenberry. And my wife is Bride of Frankenberry.
Nice.
This little guy is going to be a
berry.
Strawberry. Yeah.
A berry.
Straight up a strawberry. Huh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, take us out, little guy. Can you wave us by?
Thanks for coming out, everybody. I'm a little boy. All right. We'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. Goodbye.
Bye.